Happiness is beautiful, it's a kind of reality. Happiness is the highest good, happiness is free. So let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy.
Welcome to the Happiness Show. This is Lionel Ketchian, and I'm here with George Ortega, and we're here to talk about happiness because happiness is, always has been, and always will be the point of it all. Today, we're going to be talking about creating a happier world, and we still have as our special guest, Rabbi Zelig Pliskin. Welcome again to our Happiness Show. Great to have you.
Great.
And I got to put a plug in, George. You told me about Rabbi Pliskin's book, Gateway to Happiness. I'm not Jewish. The book basically was written by a rabbi, a Jewish religious leader. Didn't you write it for Jews at the time when you wrote it?
Well, that's mostly, especially those days when I wrote it, the book was published in 1983. Didn't have internet. It was basically, well, they were Jewish bookstores.
Okay. But, you know, you and I have had some discussion. I happen to think it's the most comprehensive book on happiness. I think it's the best book I have read, and I've probably read them all. I mean, or close to. And the reason I feel it's comprehensive is you break it down to chapters so we can go right to a chapter that maybe we're feeling a little unhappy about. And when we realize that it might be guilt or it might be anger, then we can read about how to let go of it and go back to choosing happiness again.
And the starting part of the book is really about appreciating what we have. Because we start with appreciation. The had certain chapters that I put later on. The first part of the book is based on knowing the importance of happiness, how happiness is, in the words of Rabbi Noah Weinberg, happiness is an obligation in the sense of we're obligated for our health, we're obligated for dealing well with other people, we're obligated to our Creator to appreciate His world, to appreciate what the gifts that we have in life. And for instance, we have in the Jewish prayer book, there's a blessing in the morning called Pokech Ivrim, we can see. We make a blessing we can see. So I always say like this, let's say we go with that feeling of gratitude, like you're saying, that we can see, and let's say you're waiting for a bus, and the bus is going. And one way to say is, oh, I just missed the bus. Isn't that awful? That's going to put you in a negative state. But if you see the bus going, you say, wow, I can see. Of course, I'd rather be on the bus than not. I missed my ride. I'd rather be on that ride. But, wow, I can see. I appreciate the fact that I can see. So we always choose what we're doing. And it sounds even funny a lot of times. But when we realize, wow, I choose this moment. Should I appreciate what I have or should not appreciate what I have?
Okay, Rabbi, here's the thing. Like, you've written about so many strategies, so many ways to become happier. The psychologists understand this now, right? Yet our world is less than 65% happy. Here in the United States, we're about 70% happy. So the idea is like, what can we do both as individuals and as a world to help the world become much happier?
Very important question, and I feel that the real solution to the issue is start young, start young, start young. When you have, for parents and teachers, if we get the two populations on the planet, parents teaching children how to be joyful, and teachers teaching with joy, and I'll elaborate now, and we do that, we get everyone at a young age. The younger generation will teach the older generation how to do this. And the thing is that every given moment, this is chapter 3 in Gateway to Happiness, how we choose our thoughts. Now the cognitive therapies do this, and this idea is back in Shakespeare, back to early philosophers, nothing good or bad, but thinking make it so. We choose our idea. The Talmudic hero in this is a rabbi called Rabbi Akiva, and he had a teacher who was known as Nachum Ish Gamzu, Nachum the man of good, because he would always say, Gam Zulatova, this too is for the good. This too is for the good. And when we have that consciousness, what's good about this? How can I value this in a positive way? Now, aren't things negative? We definitely have to be careful how you use every idea. Right, the introduction of my books, that every idea has to use with wisdom, with knowing when it applies, who to say it to. And when somebody's telling you about a problem, first step isn't getting a person happy. First step is understanding a person, empathy, trying to understand where a person's coming from. But we're starting off in the world not with problems. starting point is a regular child, a regular little child, a 2-year-old. For instance, let's say a child wants to take something he can't take, something that's going to be hot, fire, and the parent has other toys to take. You can say, don't play with that toy, or, wow, look at this toy is great, play with this toy. I saw, somebody showed me an article from a psychoanalytic journal that there was twins that were separated on a birth or very early on in life, and they grew up in different families. And they did an interview with both families. One said, oh, this child is such a finicky eater, he doesn't eat anything. Whatever you give him, you just have to always have cinnamon. Unless cinnamon, he doesn't eat a thing. And the other family said, oh, he's a great eater. Just put cinnamon on it and he eats everything.
That's awesome.
And that's an amazing type of idea, because basically what it is, we choose what we say, how we talk about things. I remember once...
And may I say, and doesn't that start to become our reality?
It is the reality, exactly. Immediately it becomes the reality, because the reality is the way we look at something, it's not a law of the universe that how to look at things, it's much more a law of emotional law. The way I subjectively look at something is the way this affects me.
Okay, there seems to be another part of this, in that, like, the media, our culture, our tradition, we're kind of like taught to go out and make money, go out and seek more education, success, etc. So that, in a sense, I mean, happiness is a skill, as we know, right? You know, just learn it and we have it. But part of the problem is that we are distracted by seeking so many other things. So how can we address that? How could we, like, focus ourselves and our world more on what the point is?
See things with joy. For instance, means, let's say, that's we say education, learning more. It's wonderful to learn more, but there's different ways. For instance, let's say a teacher. The children go out to play, let's say first grade, and they come back to classroom. And they come back to classroom, some teachers might say something like this, okay, that's it, recess is over, stop playing, now we have to get serious, now we have to study something.
That's the school I went to.
Okay. The other way is, wow, I hope everybody had a great time at recess. You cleared your mind. That's terrific. Now we're going to have so much fun learning. We're going to have so much fun learning new ideas. It's terrific. And let's say your teacher, let's say easy arithmetic, early basic arithmetic. 1 and 1 is 2. Everybody, how much is 1 and 1? 2. You all know it. Great. Let's give a cheer to everybody in this room. We all know that 1 and 1 is 2. And let's say the teacher goes a little higher, like 1 and 2 is how much? And one child says 4. He says, I'm so glad you came to school today because you're going to learn something new. You think 1 and 2 is 4? Terrific. You came to school today. Hey, George, what do you think 1 and 2 is? 3. Great, George got it. Okay, Jim, he got it right. What is the answer now? You got it right also. Terrific. You're all learning things today. Wonderful class. You guys are all great. You're learning things.
Positive reinforcement.
Positive reinforcement beginning to end.
Okay.
And yes.
I'm sorry. All right. So
there won't be a discipline problem in that class.
Right now. Because, like, yeah, the one is like the method of teaching, like you're saying, enthusiastic, you know, emphasizing the happiness and all. The second part, though, is that, like, okay, reading is important, writing is important, math is important. Is there anything else in school that they're studying besides those 3 things that is more important than happiness? So basically what I'm getting at is, like, shouldn't they, in addition to, like, teaching with joy, teach happiness?
Yes, definitely teach.
I mean, directly.
One way to teach directly is a teacher could ask the children, think of 3 things you're grateful for today. What are 3 things you're grateful for? And your homework today is to think of 3 more things that you're grateful for. And make that a little homework. And what are you grateful for? Terrific. And get the children to celebrate. And also with the way we view something, a point that is throughout my book, and many people for all the ages, is that the way we personally look at something, the way it affects us, get children to find what I call reframe parties. What's a reframe party? You get people coming together and you find what things annoy you, what things irritate you, and then let's find positive ways to deal with it. So of course we should correct the problem. We're not telling anyone just to deal with it and just say it's okay. No, we're not telling that. I have a whole chapter in my book called Preventing Problems. Don't cause any problems, but if you have a situation, how can I learn to avoid it in the future? And what's a positive way? What can I learn from this? The Talmud is an amazing story. There was a great teacher. His name was Rabbi Preda, and he had a student who was a little slow, and he had to Preda had to repeat every idea to the student 400 times. And that's amazing. Now, there was a great scholar, Rabbi Chaim Shmulevitz. I was fortunate he had the head of a rabbinical, an institution of Talmudic study, and he used to say, but why didn't Preda get himself a student who was a little quicker? He said the answer, Prater himself was working on the attribute of patience. So when he was reviewing this idea again and again and again, up to 400 times, he himself was developing his character of patience. And if your teacher would do that, we're all going to learn patience now. Let's all keep quiet for 1 minute of patience. We're all going to learn what trade, children? Patience. And parents could do the same thing. Okay, today we're going to learn 2 minutes of patience. Keep finding what we learn. Joy, celebrate. The joy of sharing your toys. Fantastic. Share your toy with your brother. Share your toy with your sister. Terrific. Yeah.
You know, George brought up an interesting fact. In fact, he reminds me that there's a school in Newburgh, New York. I know because my good friend of mine is a teacher there. And it's a magnet school. And, you know, some magnet schools will do maybe shop work or they'll specialize in an area. This one has the 5 R's. And I happen to think this is terrific because it's reading, writing, arithmetic, respect, and responsibility. Beautiful. And they emphasize those. And those are the beginnings. Respect and responsibility are actually primary for happiness.
Very beautiful, right?
I think it's a wonderful step towards better education.
Right. And it's important to teach responsibility joyfully and positively, because a person says, you're not acting responsible, will make a child feel bad. And the other way is, let's see what we can do to act more responsible. And
because people say, oh, you know, you don't have to jump on a person like it's their fault, but you could teach them it's their responsibility and they'll be better off themselves if they learn.
Developing that, yes. And that's why it's so important for parents, because let's say a child is making noise. Some parents will say, oh, he's not acting good today, he's acting bad today, the child's making a lot of noise. Oh, he's making noise. Fortunately, his throat's working. Like, teach him to sing a little better. Like, you can bring out the positive, and a little creativity and humor is so important, because if you try to do this too seriously, it's not going to work. If you have humor, it's amazing.
But I think George and I always feel, I wonder how you feel, I mean, we're trying to teach people, you know, we're trying to raise their intelligence, we're trying to make them educated, and we're trying to make them functional in the workplace. But how about their emotional, the EQ? Are we really teaching that in school, or should we be?
That's the goal. The goal is, of course, because when you keep thinking that, it means it's important to be aware of what aspects of emotional intelligence, our emotional quotient is so important to be aware. What factors are needed, and just reinforce them, reinforcing.
Okay, here's the key question then. These things are all things that should be happening. Teaching happiness in schools, parents teaching happiness to their children. Why is this not happening yet? As much as it could.
Oh, good. I like your way you qualified. I agree with that. It's probably happening, and we have to keep learning from role models of people who do things the right way. It means every time we find anyone, a person can look for it. It means let's say you're in a big supermarket. A wonderful opportunity, find somebody that's interacting with their children in a nice way. Or find a child that when they walk the aisles, they're not grabbing the cans and they're acting nice. Go over to that parent and say, you know what? You're doing something right with your child.
Reinforce
What do you do? So first of all, you're helping the parent feel good about the child. You're telling the child, oh, you're fortunate that your parents are treating you. You're helping them.
That's good. I like that.
And you pick up the knowledge, because wherever the wise person learns from everyone. And every time we see somebody doing something right, what are they doing? How are they doing?
Aren't we so quick to point it out when somebody does something wrong? Where's the positive reinforcement?
It goes both ways, and the goal is to keep looking, what can I learn? What can I learn from someone? Because we all have that idea of learning from role models. Anytime somebody's joyful, what are they joyful about? How can I learn from that something to be more joyful?
You know what I love? I love be happy for no reason.
Perfect.
Right?
Perfect,
you say perfect, but because sometimes if you have a reason, the reason could go.
Right. If a person decides, I choose joy now. Because since our physiology creates our inner state, and time we spoke last time, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, this ethical writer, Kabbalist, he wrote in 1740 that our 4 Hebrew words, your external movements bring out your inner feelings. So the key element is talk and act joyfully, and you don't need a special reason for it.
Well, I just got to say, when you went, I feel joyful now. You sent a wave of feeling at me. I felt it too.
Right. And everybody in the world can do this just looking in a mirror.
Wow.
looking in a mirror, you just get it back. You just see it. And it's funny because, and again, I don't walk around all the time waving and smiling to people all the time. I'm more introvert than that.
Yeah, but when we're together, it's getting very hard not to be like this.
Yeah, we're good friends since this morning already.
Yeah.
All right, so here's an idea then, because the idea is like to be happy among other people, to serve as an example. A lot of people in the world are not so happy, you know, and the problem to a great extent is that they don't have faith, they don't have confidence that it's possible to become happier. So what about the idea of like television? Everybody watches television, movies, of like creating media, you know, these movies and television shows that show people, you know, that you have a show.
Probably too boring. If all a person would watch, everything goes perfect and everything goes well, it'd probably be boring.
No, wait a minute. No. It's like, for example, a wedding.
Yes.
All right, you got a wedding, right?
Yeah.
You're in a wedding. You go, you prepare, you go through it, the reception and all.
Yes,
that's
good.
like a totally wonderful time,
Yes,
right? That's, you know, so that, that's not boring, right? So
Right.
it's the idea that
people watching all the time. But I 100% agree with you. If it's more, every time you have positive scenes, learn from it.
because the idea, because like a lot of times, like if you watch the media, especially like the news will accentuate what's wrong. You know, a lot of times they'll accentuate what's wrong without proposing how to fix it. And in a lot of the dramas, a lot of the police shows, the medicine shows, all these problems, you know, and they resolve them, and you know that's good.
Yeah.
But to teach by example, because like we can do this out in public, we can be happy in public and turn people on. But I mean the media, TV and movies has so much further reach.
Right.
So just as a way to...
If you look at advertising, commercials really do that. Meaning to say,
Yes.
like this part, they show if you have our product A, B, C, and it could be in all different fields, you will be happy. And guess what? If you have eyes, you can be happy. If you have hands, you can be happy. If you have ears, you can be happy. I know a blind couple, very happy people. They read a lot. They have a very, very wonderful life. So even people that are missing some things, and we're all missing something, because really the choice is, should I focus on what's wrong and what's missing, or focus on what's right? And there's a verse in Proverbs, in Hebrew it's called Mishlei, Proverbs 15:15. It says, there's two ways to live life. It's one verse states, every day in the life of a poor person is bad. Poor over here refers to a person with a poor consciousness, thinking what's wrong, what's missing. If you're an expert at thinking what's wrong and missing, there's always things wrong, always things missing. V'tov leiv, a person with good heart, means focus on what you're grateful for, what's going right, what you appreciate. Mishta, Talmud, life is constant party. So that idea that life can be constant parties, we celebrate and we create it. And again, does it take effort? 100% it takes effort. It takes effort, but we learn from each other. We are, our nature, Maimonides writes, our nature of human beings to influenced by our environment. If you're around people who are upbeat in a sensible way, again, it can't be too extreme. If you're around people that are down and you act too upbeat, they'll get on their nerves. So definitely, we definitely have to have balance, and at the same time, focusing on how can I look at the good of this, what's positive about this, how can I appreciate, and appreciating things at a clear blue sky. Just say, hey, I decide to appreciate the fact I'm alive. I appreciate that I can hear. I appreciate I can move my hands.
You know, one of the thoughts I've had about unhappiness, and I don't think about unhappiness much, but I'm always wondering why the world spends much time there, you know? But unhappiness, you could recreate unhappiness, you could be unhappy, you could choose unhappiness, but what you must be involved with if you do that is drama. So another way of putting it is, if you're going to be a happy person, you're going to eliminate drama from your life, because there isn't going to be drama, and for the most part, there won't be conflict because there's going to be solutions.
There's going to be much more solutions, but there will be positive drama.
Okay.
When you have positive interactions, there's a drama. There's
right. I think positive drama is different than it's going to end in a bad.
You brought up a really interesting point recently about the idea that you have commercials out there that are very positive. They're selling a product, of course, you know, and the selling point is that the person who buys that product is expected to become happier, right? So how about the idea, and we've done shows on this, of selling happiness as a product, happiness instruction. I mean,
that's it. Yeah.
Well,
and the thing,
books.
And also my CD series, Create the States You Want, More Joy, Less Distress. I have on 7 audio CDs, 20 sessions on how to create positive states. And first, the introduction is how to collect states, which we mentioned in the last program, and then I have upgrades for joy, upgrades for serenity, upgrades for the positive qualities. And even for time management, I have a whole session called what is the wisest use of my time right now? I like that. Wisest use of my time. Means doesn't mean to be perfect, doesn't mean you're not going to waste the moment, but does mean is, what's the wisest use of my time right now? And
where do you get the most bang for your buck, right?
Yeah, and one thing is, being negative is for sure, it doesn't solve anything. It so doesn't solve anything. And by knowing how to allow yourself to flow in a good state, and even if you feel in a bad state, just accept it. There's a famous idea that a lot of people say, don't resist and it won't persist. Let's say you feel in an awful state. You say, I'm in an awful state right now. Okay, that's the state I'm in now. Okay, I wonder when it's going to change. Now, if you just say that in a slight upbeat tone of voice, you'll see you're already going to be moved. And if it's a real problem, solve the problem. There are definitely tragedies in life, and there's a time to laugh, and there's a time to cry. There's not trying to not acknowledge your feelings, but acknowledging your feelings doesn't mean you got to be miserable.
Right.
Acknowledge your feelings.
Rabbi, you had talked, you said there's basically 5 states that you could access that really pretty much hit the...
When I said 5, it was like like a general 5.
Okay.
The states, for instance, the joyful state. I like the word joyful because to me, subjectively, it's a little more intense than the word happiness. But the word happy state or joyful state, a state is a calm, serene state, courage state. That gets you real far. And harmony with others, deciding, I'm going to get along well with this person. I'm going to turn, a person's angry at you or upset with you, focus on, I want to give out good energy. There's a beautiful verse in Proverbs called, as in water, face to face, so the heart of one person to the other. Meaning that the energy you give out to people, you get back. When you give out positive energy, I grew up in a rough neighborhood. And an inner city neighborhood, and my father, who was a rabbi of a synagogue, was very friendly and very, very cheerful, and he had people of all different backgrounds, all different religions, all different races, that people would always come to greet my father, say, Rabbi, Reverend, Minister, Father, Priest, bless me and pray for me, because he gave off good energy, and we create a harmony in the world. We create a harmony. If you look at the planet Earth from outer space, just one little planet, it's all things, the border lines, and definitely the countries and things, but we need to have peace, but there's more, the good energy to people. You give good energy, you create positive interactions, people interact much better with other people.
Yeah, I have this thought about a state, and that's like, for example, well, all right, if I'm going to come and do a show with George and you, all right, I'm going to put my suit on, but maybe I'll just wear blue jeans and a regular shirt if I've got to do something else. So I'm getting dressed appropriate to the function that I want to fulfill, correct? We don't seem to psychologically go into things prepared. A state prepares you to step into the next thing you have to function at.
Asking that one question, I have to do this job now, what state do I want to be in now?
Exactly.
I'm studying, what kind of state do I want to be when I study? I have to go and interact with another person. I have a relative close to me that has Alzheimer's, and Alzheimer's, the memory keeps getting less and less. But if you keep trying to remind that person of joyful, or put them in joyful moments now in the present, somebody that has a memory is not working, one way is trying to get them to remember. Don't get them to remember. Just talk about a new thing again and again and put them in positive states. And it's very much, we all can enhance our lives and lives of others, and deciding that choice, what state do we be in? Because every good state is in our brain, and my brain is always with me. I get classes, when I teach this, I always say, everybody together now, let's repeat. My brain is always with me. In my brain, I have every great moment of my whole life. In my brain, I have every positive state that I've ever experienced. And now I can access it in the present. This is very easy to do. It's not difficult.
Okay, according to the research, like for most people, happiness is about other people. You know, our spouses are extremely important, our friends. And so it seems that, like, in terms of a world, happiness is very about communication. Because the idea is, like, you have a lot of people, let's say, who come home at night, and maybe they're a little tired, but they may watch 3-4 hours of television, maybe kind of like an isolated thing, maybe alone or something, or they could be talking on the phone with people, being out at a coffee shop someplace. What kind of advice can we give to bring people more together so that we're enjoying each other more, so that makes happiness so much easier?
Well, asking insightful questions to people is very, very, very helpful. matter of fact, I have one book. It's my least popular book, and I don't even advocate most people to get it because it's a complicated book. It's called Gateway to Self-Knowledge.
Okay.
And
Wow.
in that book, I have 200 traits and 9,000 questions to just figure out where you are. Now, I have a whole book. If you're going to be down on yourself, that not satisfied with yourself, don't read the book. So I keep telling people who should not read the book. But if a person can read open-ended, you say, wow, when do I have courage? When do I lack courage? When am I more giving? When am I less giving? What are my challenges and the different qualities? And by bringing out the best in people, we all can do that by asking the right questions. And that's important for parents and teachers. I know one student who got 50s on his tests, a 15-year-old boy, and he had a teacher who called him over once when he got a 50 on a test and said, you know what, the reason you got 50 is because you didn't answer half the questions. But look what you did answer. Look at question number 3, beautiful. Look at question 9. You really understood this. Keep it up. Next week, he got a 50 again. The teacher calls him over. The boy thought, oh, now the teacher's really going to tell me off. The teacher said to him, you only got a 50 again because you didn't answer all the questions. But look what you answered. Question number 19, it was great. Question number 7, beautiful, keep it up. And he said to himself, wow, I understand it. Next week, he concentrated during class, he reviewed the material, he believed in his ability. He says, what's on mine? He got 100, 400 row, and after that, he's married now, a couple children, he's a scholar, very, very successful, and we bring out in everyone the best and the worst. And so by looking at the best in people and looking at potential in people, we can transform and elevate people's lives. Believe in people's potential. We all have it.
Well, and the same is so true for ourselves, too. I mean,
Right,
if we begin
exactly.
with that, everything you said applies for ourselves.
Perfect.
And as you're talking about questions, I'm thinking, so true, this self-talk that so many of us have, like the way we ask the question.
Exactly.
For example, we'll say, why is it always so cold and snowy and lousy out?
Yeah.
Now, that kind of question is going to give you the most terrible mood, put you in a worse state
A
imaginable.
lot of times we'll say to each other, "How you doing?" But if we said that more sincerely, if they're not doing as well as we think they should, or they think, "Well, why not?"
Or what can I do to help?
I always say that.
It's like in the snow, you say, what do I enjoy about the snow? What's good about the snow? What is pleasurable about it? And let's say a person said, I never enjoyed the snow before. There's a very fascinating, easy to apply idea, make believe, act as if, the act as if idea. A lot of writers have written this over the years.
Sure.
A lot of people, act as if you enjoy the snow. If I enjoy the snow, how would it be? How would I feel? What would I think?
Absolutely.
Acting as if, and that puts us in a mindset. That puts us in a mindset.
And do we act as if we're unhappy and that's why we're unhappy? Is that true?
It's always complicated. That's like
Okay.
a whole subject in
Okay.
itself.
Yeah, we've
complicated.
only got like 49
Yeah,
minutes.
we're at the end of.
It's like
You didn't
2
like it
seconds.
when we were at 2 minutes. Now we're at 40 seconds.
My Mani said the way to become a better person is do many positive actions over time. That's the way to create it. And be joyful. Be very joyful. Greet people in a joyful way. Greet yourself in a joyful way in the mirror. Keep creating seconds and moments of joy. They build up in your mind. This moment will be a joyful moment. Yeah, this moment will be a joyful moment. And you can do it with excitement. The parents can do that to children. Teachers can do it with their students. And we're going to create a much more joyful world.
Wow. Well, I'm full of joy, and I hope we've passed some of it on to you. Thank you.
Thank you for
Rabbi
having me
Pliskin,
on the
for
show.
being on.
Yeah.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today. Thanks for watching. In the future, we'll explore other topics designed to help us better enjoy life. Be good, think well, feel very happy, and I hope you'll join us again next week on The Happiness Show. Bye-bye.
Happiness is powerful. It's our underlying need. Happiness is why we live each day. Happiness is destiny. So let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy.